Welcome back to NTAC Live 2012. I'm Chris Walsh from the NTAC Network, and we are here interviewing all the folks that make this an amazing place to hang out during the summer. NTAC is the place to be in Grand Rapids during the summer, and I'm joined by Jude Garnier from NTAC Network and Steve Zipkes from Manor NTAC. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
And so we wanted to have a little conversation about some of the exciting new work that NTAC is doing that a lot of people may not know about around the district work that we're doing. So maybe we can start by just talking a little bit about what that means when we talk about working with districts.
So I would say that we have noticed such good work happening in many of our NTAC schools, high schools, and they are beginning to actually have an impact on the rest of their system. And as those schools really meet the learning needs of students in such profound ways, other schools in the districts are wanting more of that. And so it's really become a pull to spread those practices across the systems, and it requires that the district itself also support and actually develop key structures and processes in place to have that happen. And so that's a big part of the work. So we have a lot of different moving pieces to that.
So I want to get to what that looks like tangibly, but maybe we can start by, you kind of alluded to that many of the districts like Manor have been doing this for a while and been doing initiatives that are spreading the NTAC message sort of around the district on their own. So tell us a little bit about some of the work that you guys in particular have been doing the last couple of years.
I think one of the big things that you have to think about is when you're in a school district with multiple schools and multiple high schools, is that you can't have this one small pocket of success and not be able to take that and spread it out. So I think the master grand plan in the initial stages was we're going to find the best practices. From that, we're going to spread those out. And that's not new to school districts. I think what's new is that the ability to take a pedagogical different approach to instruction and getting that out to teachers to make that connection with students. So that's kind of been our plan, and we've spread out now to one middle school is turning, all sixth grade is going to be NTAC. We have an elementary school that's all PBL. We've spread it to six other elementaries in fourth and fifth grade. They're doing PBL. And we've trained our instructional C&I department. So we have, as a school-wide plan from the school board down, the initiative, we've even changed our board policy to reflect that teachers will assess those 21st century skills and implement project-based learning in their classroom.
So there's high-level policy that needs to happen and high-level changes at the district level, but you guys are also, if we can get really specific, doing a lot of on-the-ground training of teachers right from Manor NTAC. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, we found out quickly that our capacity, our teachers' capacity to implement and stay fidelity to project-based learning was tremendous. And based upon that, we've been able to, we created our own Think Forward Institute, which is a project-based learning institute where our teachers now become instructional coaches and trainers for training the entire staff in our district. That's on a district level, and we do training outside of the district. But the impact is always, we're going to take care of our district first and make sure that our teachers are ready. And so we don't necessarily have to wait for a NTAC coach to come over to help us, because we've built that capacity now that we understand what fidelity is and the processes that we feel are important for project-based learning, and we've taken that out and trained other teachers.
Well, I think that's one of the core tenets of this work too, is building a kind of sustainability so that it's not dependent on an outside coach, but actually building the capacity within the system for it to actually spread and take hold. It's not dependent on one or two people.
And I would say as a instructional leader and a campus leader, I think one of the biggest things, sense of pride that you get, is when you can take somebody and take them to a different level Now they move on, but when they move on, what we're seeing is they're moving on into the district to leadership capacities to help out within the district, which so they're not leaving the school district, they're staying in the district, carrying on those practices, which is fantastic.
That's great. So what's clearly NTAC Network has an interest in spreading this all over, right? But what are the specific ways that we're working with Manor and other districts to kind of build their capacity and help them continue to expand this process?
So I think in each one of these districts that we're working in, context matters. So we have some districts where the NTAC school is relatively new, so they're still building their capacity, and so we are supporting a little bit more there. In other districts where like Manor, where the NTAC High School is very well established and has been so for quite a while, we're supporting less, but still connected. So what we do is we also provide a training for the district coaches that's based on our own coaching model as well. We provide a boot camp, as we call it, the same kind of experiences we put our coaches through so that they build the capacity to lead in other schools. We also have a really key role because this is such a systems issue, and as Steve pointed out, it's impacted structure all the way up to the board and policy, and that's huge. So we also have a role, the district liaison role, so it's a person at the district level who's sort of our kind of contact, and we help them think about this from that sort of systems perspective. What are all the other things around it we need to have in place? How do we support the director at the existing school, not pull too much from him and his work, but also support the capacity at the new schools.
And that last part, I think, is really key. As we continue to grow as a network and our schools get more mature, we want to make sure, obviously, that this work continues. And a lot of times that means getting people at the district really invested in what we're doing. And I'm wondering, because Manor has recently had some changes at the leadership level, how you're seeing that role of being really infused more in the district DNA, how that's kind of playing out with some of these transitions.
Although we've had some change in the administrative level, the direction from the board is still the same.
But it's key, you got the board involved.
From the very beginning. But when you have data that you can show data and back it up, data drives everything. And when you start seeing changes not only in the students, but the relationships with their families and the community, and all of a sudden now you're seeing more of a college-going community. You're starting to see students that are completing high school and moving on and staying in college. That has a real impact, and it not only affects the school district, but it affects the entire community around there, and that's hard to ignore. And when you have a third of the 8th grade class wanting to come to a school that does project-based learning, it opens up everyone's eyes. We've got to make a change. And I think that from the very beginning, we turned it upside down. We didn't start at the top with the high school and start trying to impact the high school. Our goal was to affect the elementary schools and to build up capacity, so by the time those students got to the high school, the parents and the students would demand more engaged practices of project-based instruction. And so when the board sees that in the community is saying that's hard to ignore.
Yeah.
I just add to that. I think too, with the success that Manor NTAC has had, just imagine having students that are prepared earlier on in the process and in this way of learning and being and habits of mind. Just think about what's going to happen, even more profound at the high school. So that's a very exciting part.
Well, and that's so far we've been talking mostly about having a NTAC high school as the anchor and then sort of spreading it from there. But now we're seeing some school districts that come to us from the very beginning and say, we want this throughout the entire school district. So I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about that and what we think that looks like moving forward.
Sure. We actually have one of our new districts that has intentionally brought in their NTAC high school as a lever for change throughout the system. So it's almost as if it's a lab school of sorts, and we're going to all learn from this. So the superintendent and the school board are are heavily invested, not invested just in, supporting financially in other ways, but wanting to understand the model itself and truly understand what it takes to do this well, because they are bringing it in as a way to lever for change throughout the system. So they're really going to be very intentional about learning about that, so that they can spread those practices throughout. They believe in it that much.
And I would say, that's unique for school districts because businesses always have an R&D.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Education, we don't have an R&D. And so we consider our school like the research and design development place. When school districts that do that, they're very forward thinking and they're looking at those best practices, and that's how you're going to build success. So that's, hats off to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's a lot going on the district side, and I know it's an exciting time for the network to think about how we spread this and scale our concept and our work to have greater impact. So I want to thank both of you for the hard work that you're doing in Manor and across the country. And if people want to learn more about this work, they should come to you?
Absolutely.
Go to Jude.
Or Steve. Either one of us. Yes, absolutely.
Either one. Fantastic. Well, thanks again for joining us here.
Okay.
For everyone at NTAC Network and here in Grand Rapids, Michigan at NTAC 2012, I'm Chris Walsh. We'll see you soon.